What's good? What's good? Welcome back to another podcast. It's your boy Jordan, the host, and welcome back to another Let's Talk podcast. I have a very special guest. Please take the time to introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. This is Coach G. I'm always in the place to be. Full name Nick Giovanetti, certified strength conditioning coach, and happy to be here with Jordan.
Yes, sir. We're getting it in. Tell us a little bit about your background, so everybody a little more familiar with you.
Sure. Professionally, strength coach to the National Strength and Conditioning Association. I got a background in kinesiology, undergrad from Texas Western University in exercise science, 2 masters from Dallas Baptist University in kinesiology, 1 in higher education. And I'm currently working on my doctorate, 27 hours away till I get to my dissertation from Chicago University.
Yes,
Concordia.
sir.
Yeah, and ex-athlete and all those kind of good things, and it's a lot to say, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
All right. The biggest question we're gonna ask you today is, if you had anybody who just come to you ask, can you get them in shape? Could you, and how would you take steps to make that possible?
Oh yeah, I'll get you in shape. You mess with me, you're going to get in shape. That's first and foremost. But there's ways to do it, and there's scientific research that I base a lot of my workout plan and training programs on. So I have to stay in tune with the latest research. So it's going to be different for everybody. That's why they call it personal training. Even though I consider myself strength coach because that's what I'm certified in, it still comes down to personalizing the workout for the individual. We're all the same, but yet we're all different. Things are going to be have to be adapted. You might have an athlete, an ex-athlete, somebody that hasn't worked out before, a novice, completely different. There's all types of stuff. You have to look at their occupation. What are they working for? Training goals, needs analysis of what they're doing, and then you can move from there. Set the correct testing selection, so you can set goals and objective goals to get them on the right track. Then you can also incorporate the nutrition, which is also important, and set them on the path they need to get stronger and more healthier.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. So what do you say, like the do's and don'ts when it comes down to fitness? Because fitness is not always about how much weight you move and how long you can run. It's also play a part in other areas as well.
On the holistic outlook, I try to present a well-balanced approach. So we have to get into the nuts and bolts of it. I mean, that's why you go to school for so long. You can get really in depth, but on the overall look, just looking at the main meat and potatoes of it, it's finding a balance. So when you go into workout, you go work out hard, you're gonna have to follow that with something lighter. It's like the Boyle's law within physics: high pressure to low pressure. It's gonna fall through that. So you find this golden mean, this Aristotelian outlook of balance within your life and what you're eating. Right? You eat too much is not good. You eat too little, that's not too good. Same thing when you're working out. Same thing with everything else in life. You can study too long, too wrong, right? And then you're gonna mess out. You're not gonna do as good on the test, and you just studied your butt off. But if you don't study at all, you're not gonna get anything on that test. So you got to find that balance. What's for you? What works for you? People at all different levels, so you really can't judge or look at somebody else. You got to check your ego. You got to be humble but hungry at the same time.
That's a good answer. Because a lot of people nowadays, they so focus on what their appearance is like, but not really focus on overall general health. So such as eating, getting enough sleep, other exercises such as core workouts, besides sit-ups and, chin-ups. It's other core exercises that help your body. And what 3 would you recommend people to work on if they have a weak core?
Well, core is everything, and that's good you brought that up. You use your core in everything you're doing, sitting, standing, sleeping, whatever it is. And that's why it's called your core, right? It's in the middle, helps the foundation with all our lifts and movements. Just doing your proper movements in itself, you're going to be working your core, especially with multi-joint movements like squats and deadlifts and things like that, goblet squats, But I prefer stuff that doesn't put too much strain within the lower lumbar, but still have to hit that lower back area. So I like to incorporate bird dogs a lot within a lot of workouts I do, adding bands, maintaining pressure, also understanding their body within the movements. So you can activate your core at the right times. You actually lift better. Think about the biomechanics with your lift. What other two? What was the other one, Jordan?
I believe the other one was. What you mean, other one?
You wanted me to give you three examples. Was it three
Oh,
examples
like
of core?
yeah,
Or was it,
core like bird dogs, like
okay.
planks, just different like core workouts that can isolate the whole.
Yeah, so I like stabilization, uh, isometric contractions for the core because that's kind of what you're going to be doing when you do your multi-joint lifts. And like I said, you pretty much incorporate core in everything that you're doing. If you want to isolate, I like to do bird dogs in between, like resting between like a squat, power clean, stuff like that, kind of reactivate the lower lumbar areas. So is major and minor, all that stuff to help maintain when you go in to get your major lift again. On your next set, you're kind of refocused up on that too. So if you do wear your belt, usually only on heavy lifting, um, you'll also be activating that stabilization, that thoracic foundation to get your lift correctly.
So with the lifts, would you say the most lift? Well, which lift give you the most benefit? Is it squat? Well, squat is a pretty good one. Or you should be focused more on power movements, depending on, I guess, like what are your fitness goals? Because a lot of people not really focus on performing; they're more focused on looks. So, what would you suggest to a person who so focused on their looks and not on performing?
Well, you basically hit the nail on the head as far as talking about what their specificity to train in a roundabout way. That's what you're talking about too. So yes, it depends on what they're looking for. As far as aesthetics, as a strength coach, you're looking at sports and performance. It's pretty much my realm. What I do, I help you, make your body functional. What it's supposed to do, perform better with agility, balance, speed, power, all the things that you need on the field of play or on the court or out on the track. That is very important. That's what we're looking for. So aesthetics is a byproduct of all the workout we're doing. And even with that, when I help somebody in the general health, general population that's not an athlete or a novice, I try to inform them that it's not about aesthetics. I think we can get caught up in that, especially with the social media. You're seeing certain bodies and how things look, and you perceive a perception of what a perfect body is. But honestly, there's nothing perfect, and it's how you perform. Is your body doing what it needs to do? When you're 82 years old, are you walking up the stairs and sitting up and standing down? All that kind of stuff without any pain, healthy, quality years, versus quantity. So I always try to push people aside from stop thinking about the aesthetics because it's just going to be something you're going to chase forever, and you're actually not going to even be satisfied because you'll never be, in your own mind, perfect.
And on top of that, how would you feel about flexibility? You think it plays a huge role in how you perform as an athlete, or it doesn't play as big of a role as people perceive it to be?
It's a tremendous role. It's incredibly important. Uh, Now, some people may overemphasize flexibility as far as their training program and take away some of the stuff they may need as far as their development of power. But flexibility is a critical component. It's a health-related physical fitness component as well as a sports-related physical fitness component. So our bodies are meant to move. If you study within kinesiology, the human movement, we're designed to move. Compared to the rest of the animal kingdom, we're very weak as far as all-out power and strength. We're meant to move. If you notice where the muscles connect biomechanically, insert within the skeletal system, closer to the joint, it's for quicker movements versus all-out strength. So if you're not flexible, if you're not able to move, you're prone to getting injured if you were to do something explosive, right? You have more strain. Your muscles actually strain. The connective tissues actually uh, uh, strain as much. They kind of shorten. And if you're not flexible, you're not able to work. For instance, here's an example. You didn't work on your flexibility, and just you want to get back in shape as you get older in life. You try to walk, you can't walk as much. You can't do a squat. You kind of refrain from exercising because you can't move as well, and then you start affecting your heart. And your heart health is your most important physical fitness component, whether athlete or not. Your heart has got to keep going, right? And if you can't exercise it, it's going to be very detrimental, and it all comes from you weren't flexible enough to exercise in the first place. So flexibility, extremely critical.
So, could you give any examples of different exercises that people can work on? Because I know a lot of people have lower back problems, hip tightening, tight hamstrings. Do you have any exercises or any holds or strengthening situations that can help people out?
Well, it would start just getting blood flow within the muscles first.
So, like a warm up.
Yeah, we can use basic warm up. People call it different things. When you talk to trainers and stuff, they'll call it like pre-activation and dynamic, all this and that, but it's a warm up. You get your blood flowing, you get you moving. It's like lubricating the joints, right? Lubricating stuff on your car. Metal on metal is not going to work. You got to get it lubricated. So within our body, we've got to get the blood flow moving. You get yourself hot. You're shunning the blood away from other systems to the skeletal muscles. You're able to do some movements that can be similar to what you're doing. So dynamic movements is good for flexibility and stretching. Great warm up right there. But it also depends on your level. So, right, yeah, if you got lower back issues or you had a hip replacement, maybe we need to take it down, slow it down. We just do some rotations at our hip. If you're able to get on the ground, we can just do some leg movements where our legs are bent, heels on the ground, and just rotate. Not all the way over too much, just a little bit moving back and forth till we start loosening up that lower lumbar, and start moving our joints nice and passively. I like to incorporate yoga, yoga is very good. I use that with a lot of my linemen that I've worked with, especially with my collegiate linemen that lift real heavy. They need to be loose and calm. It helps with their heart rate, great for recovery. You can incorporate your flexibility in times like that also in your warm-ups. And also your descending warm-ups, cool down areas. That's also a critical component of your training when you get into that too. I know I'm going all over it, but
No, go ahead,
there's just so many things. There's a tremendous amount of things to look at and think about to get the optimal health that you're looking for. And it's so different as far as athlete and a novice. The bullseye to hit to be healthy is wide and large. So you can get out there and walk every day, do little hand weights, and if you stay consistent with it, you're going to be in great shape and eating right.
Let's talk diet. What do you suggest a proper diet is for an athlete or non-athlete? We're just gonna break it down. We're just gonna athlete first.
Well, athlete depends on the sport itself, but most athletes they're going to use it. You have to think about your energy system. So you have like a phosphagen, and you have glycolysis, and you have your oxidation systems. And there's 3 different systems within the body that work all in tandem, but one dominates more than the other depending on the activity you're doing. And we look at activity, we break it down to aerobic and anaerobic activity. So aerobic literally means with oxygen, and anaerobic without oxygen. And breaking that down further comes down to what the activity means without oxygen means the energy that we're using, where we don't have to have a sustained amount of breathing in and out all the time, like you would do with running. Running would be aerobic. Anaerobic would be something like lifting weights. Okay, so something powerful like that. You would have the phosphagen and glycogen stores. Phosphagen and glycolysis, those 2 energy systems would be for initial movements for anaerobic, like lifting weights, or like a hard 100-meter run, or maybe even a 400-meter dash. Then you would move to oxidation. You would slow down your movement because you can't be explosive, because you have to keep on doing the sustained movement. You're getting tired. You're going to run another 400 meters. It's not going to be a dash. You're going to be slowing down just because you get tired. And that would come down to oxidation. Now, I know I went all through those energy systems. To come back to the initial question of what the diet would be, you would need to know your activity. You would draw mostly from, especially athletes, glycogen stores. That goes through the glycolysis with the phosphocreatine, phosphagen, but glycolysis. Glycogen stores comes from carbohydrates, dark green leafy vegetables, and subsequently that also goes inside with the novice and general public. Carbohydrates are your friend if you're doing high level activity. You want to have carbohydrates. Very important. Protein, necessary for your growth and recovery, and then obviously fats, good healthy fats like omega-3, omega-6. It's going to help with all types of endocrine activity and different functions metabolically in your body. So athletes, you need a lot more glycogen because they have a lot more activity. Non-athletes, if you're just moving, you want to be wary of how much glycogen, carbohydrates you're ingesting, because you will store it as fat. And that's kind of the big thing that a lot of people run into, is eating too much calories that they necessarily don't need. Same thing with protein. Protein, you store it as fat. You store everything in your body as fat. With the exception of glycogen, you can store within your muscles and in your liver, which I told you within energy systems you're going to use immediately, like with lifting weights in the phosphagen and the glycolysis energy system. But apart from that, you'll start utilizing fat at rest and then the glycogen from there. It can get kind of confusing and all over the place, but biggest thing, carbs are your friends. They're not bad. You need them if you want to be working out. Proteins and fats. Good, healthy palate.
That's good. And also, how do you feel about sleep? How long you think is, what would you recommend sleep time for a non-athlete and an athlete?
Non-athlete and athlete, they all need at least 9 hours.
At least 9 hours.
9 to 10 hours. College students are the worst at getting sleep. They are absolute worst. I mean, it affects so much. Sleep is so critical. I always tell my athletes all the time, you got to get your rest. You got to get your sleep. It's your duty as an athlete to get sleep and need quality sleep too. So sometimes we like, I went to bed at 9, but if you got your cell phone on, you got lights going on, there's noise around in the background, you don't really get the proper sleep. You have the TV running all night long. If you got a lot of electronics around you, that magnetic field right there bothers you, stimulates the eye movement. So quality of sleep also is very important. You can't catch up on sleep. Sleep is so important because that's when you have your growth and repair. When you're repairing from the damage you did through the stresses that you had during the day, right? And it just compounds that stress even more. And when you have a good night's rest versus a non-night rest.
Because you'll feel it, right? It'll feel like a difference in, how you rested.
Oh, yeah. You'll feel it. I mean, you're more prone to getting sick. You're more prone to having an accident. You're more prone to having a bad time in the gym as far as not having the best lift that you did before. A lot of things like that. Sleep is so important, and I don't think people recognize it. And then I think sometimes in the strength and conditioning world, sometimes you get like, you got to keep fighting, and there's a lot of rah-rah, and you can't quit, and you ain't got time for sleep. You got to keep going at it, and it's like, no, you need to sleep. Like, that's important. Sleeping and eating is your duty as an athlete if you want to help your team out and help yourself prepare sufficiently so you can have the optimal performance. You need to get your sleep.
So let's talk injuries and tendons. Let's say tendons are pretty important in your body, and a lot of workouts that we do is not focused on tendons. So what workouts would you recommend to strengthen the tendons in your ankle? So if people have lack of ankle mobility, because the ankle plays a part in the calf and the whole rest of the leg. So what exercises would you optimize to create a general background of stability in the lower part of your body?
So helping create stability, again, is within that balance, right? If you're talking about tendons are connective tissue from the muscle to the bones. You also think about the ligaments, bones to bones. All that plays a part. Again, it's in balance, right? So as you're training your muscles, you're subsequently training your tendons and your ligaments and connective tissues as well. Another important reason for resting, because you have to rest and allow them for growth and recovery. They will get stronger with the double helix as they grow and expand, and your muscles continue to pull more strain within the bones. It's one reason why you can overtrain too much. You'll get to the point where you can rip that tendon right off the bone, like a barbecue rib or something. Just falls right off because you train too hard. I know it sounds gross, but it's happened. So again, it's that balance that you go in with your training. That's actually my job in my profession. I'm to prescribe the correct amount of strength training versus rest time versus strength training where it's still active. Yeah, we pull back a little bit to when it's time to really get after it. You're going up to like 90% of a max and really pushing through, because that you have to move weights to get those tendons strong so you can get your stability.
Well, guys, we're going to take a quick little break where we're going to get right back to you guys, and I'll see you guys in a little bit. What's up, guys? This is your boy Jordan, the Bull Homer. If you haven't subscribed to this YouTube channel, please take the moment to do that. And also, I do have juice available. I do sell dogs, and I sell other products as well. So stay tuned, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Let's get back to the video. Welcome back, to Let's Talk Podcast. I still got my guests here with me, and we're going to discuss a little different topic today. Now we're going to discuss more of relationships. Now, what relationship advice would you give a young cat like myself?
Relationship advice. Well, okay, here we go. You know what? It's kind of funny thing that you got a strength coach on here, because strength and conditioning is, as much as I have the science and geeky part around, is knowing the ins and outs of X-Phys and stuff like that. The more I've done this and the more I've trained with youth to collegiate and a couple professional people, it really comes down to relationships and how you communicate with people more than anything. I mean, you get them in the gym. Most people, if they just stay consistent, they'll almost by default just get stronger and faster. They won't be optimal. They probably hurt themselves because they don't know what they're doing. But it's almost a human condition how you can adapt. So a big part of strength and conditioning, I'd say almost 60%, maybe even more, is relationships. And I would just say, as someone young, you have to really just keep practicing talking to people. Introduce yourself and have the willingness to understand that people have other perspectives other than you. They see things differently. They view things differently. And a lot of it you won't agree with. Some of it you will. Just understanding that every human being is special and unique in their own way. And if you understand the body, you understand there's so much of us that are the same. Like, the way our heart beats and the way our body's moving. But yet we're so completely different. We're just special in our own unique way. So if you come with that first perspective, that's going to help you along with your relationships, because you're going to understand, okay, this person's of value. Then you can start talking to them, and you can understand, is that somebody I'd like to kick it with, or just as a colleague, and go from there.
So you're saying communication plays a huge role in how people perceive and don't perceive you, because you can have a perspective of a person and not understand that person until you actually take the time to communicate with that person.
Correct. Yes. Most human beings, when they have their prejudices, they have their faults, their foibles, and it's all perspective when you come down to it, perception. We can all look at the same thing but see 1,000 different things. Correct.
Correct.
It's really amazing how it is, but that's also a beautiful thing about humanity as well. It's supposed to be different. As a strength coach, when you're looking at that, you have to adapt and change. It's sometimes you have to understand people are a little nervous with things they don't understand, right? I taught this. I did a strength and conditioning program for 8 weeks this summer at this high school south of Granbury, and their mascot is a rattler. It's a snake.
A rat.
Yeah. Now just stay with me. Stay with me for a minute. Snake. And I was thinking about, it's like snake. And through mythology and various cultures, snakes are considered bad, right? And evil. Low down, dirty snake in the grass. We use it as an insult and stuff like that. And you think, why? Yeah. How do snakes survive? They have no arms, no legs. How do they move, right? And I think snakes are sometimes created as a bad rap because you don't know how they survive. I mean, it'd be horrible to have no arms and legs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But they do that, and they're actually good. I mean, they eat rats. They help with the ecosystem. They aerate the ground. I mean, they're highly critical to the living systems that we live in. But everybody's scared about them because they don't know. Yeah. Take the time to learn people and understand them. That's all what I'm saying.
So we're gonna get to the juicy stuff.
Oh,
it's a for advice for men who's trying to pick up women.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give them? Would you be like eye contact, or would you be like, come with, initiative, confidence, wear your stylish hats? How would you?
No, you gotta have confidence anyway.
You gotta have confidence.
Wearing hats shows that you're confident to begin with. I've been wearing hats since I was a kid, so that'll tell you something right there. But yeah, I mean, you gotta be cool with it. Obviously, if you can tell jokes and make them laugh, again, the balance. You know, you don't want to be a buffoon. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, you know, it's not funny no more. It's getting annoying. But if you're such a bore, you can't, you know, nobody wants to hang out with you anyways either, right? You got to be kind of cool in the middle. You can use my name if you need to, Jordan. If you want to meet up and girl. I know Coach G, something like that.
I'm going to definitely give it consideration.
You can meet Coach G. Just come hang out with me. Yeah, but confidence is probably the biggest thing. And most guys, you know, you got to learn. Again, you got to practice it like everything else.
Yeah.
Some
so
of us,
like in a mirror or something like that, or you got to just go out there and just go talk to that person?
Not in a mirror. You got to go out.
You got to just go out.
Yeah, you just talk to them.
What you think a good spot to talk to a woman at? Like say she going into the grocery store, or she studying, or she at a club. What spot would you recommend a guy to go holler at a chick at?
Well, definitely not the gym.
Okay.
I'd say that.
Not the gym.
They got the earphones in. They're doing little side bends and squats. Leave them alone, because you always will be a creep no matter what you do. Bookstore, library is a lot better if you're on a college campus.
Yeah.
You go to social settings where they want to be met. Sometimes if a grocery store or anything like that, you got to catch the vibe. You can tell when someone wants to be talked to, where they don't want to.
Yeah.
Smiles are a big deal, you know.
You got to read the room.
You got to read the room, say hello, and, you know, when to be respectful. Things like that. Always be respectful, not when to be, but always be respectful.
It's okay to be a little disrespectful, but not like in like a really disrespectful way. You know, like a immature joke, something like that. I say personally, I think that works. What about like, let's say,
I just snapped my finger, but you know that's me.
It just comes naturally, just off the bone. But let's see. So let's talk self-control. How do you know when it's time to have self-control when it comes down to women and being around them? Like, you know, you as men, it's things that we have to consider and do as men, because it's like a manly duty. You know, provide, be a manly man. But, you know, nowadays, society is trying to break men down to be more sissified. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to use that word, more sissified than, you know, manly man. So how do you create that balance between trying to be always around a female and just in your focus zone?
I'm trying to follow you, and I get what you're saying, like sissified, and
because it's okay to have emotions. It's okay to talk about your emotions.
We're emotional people.
Yeah,
human beings are emotional.
Yeah,
but you do have to keep your emotions in check.
Yeah,
right. I as a coach. When I'm coaching, I'm very emotional, but I can't lose my cool.
Yeah.
You know, if you lose your cool, then no one's gonna respect you.
Yeah.
But then they also feel you too. Like, again, communication. I'm very, very passionate. I'm totally different than I am on this podcast. If I get my whistle around my neck, it's a totally different world. And I'm serious.
It's Coach G world.
It's Coach G world. You're in my world, and I just get into it. And I just love it and excited, and I'm so excited for the people that are working. And you just get, you know, some of it's rah-rah and you're cheering and, you know, things like that. But you still got to control your emotions and know what you're doing, where you're at. That's where the training comes involved. As far as with the males, I've seen that, how they kind of portray people and pushing males down. And, you know, in my background is, you know, I consider myself a Chicano, Mexican-American, Italian-American. I know it growing up in my neighborhoods and stuff. How I came up, and I see now, like in TVs and shows, it's always like, how come like the Mexican in the movie, the Mexican American, the Chicano, they always got to throw somebody in there like he's kind of extra sissified, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's some forces around in the world. We have to get that deep in this podcast, but
we can get as deep as possible. We own this podcast. Let's talk.
I think they're really trying to do that, Black and Latinos more, especially against males.
Yeah.
Trying to push that narrative more, because we've always been perceived as the savage, the extra threat, and things like that. You know, and honestly, within sports, it's a crazy thing. Because again, with strength and conditioning, I work with a lot of white dudes. They pretty much dominate the strength and conditioning world. You know, and you look in sports too. It's like 80%, 90% is black that are athletes.
Yeah.
You know, and you push it through. So why don't you see black coaches? you know. But then you see shows and stuff on TV, and they try to incorporate everybody, you know, and it's like people like it seems like they got good intentions, like, hey, we're gonna show how the black and Latino experience, but then they throw in somebody that's extra sissified, that we call extra sissified, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we're being too macho, but then on the other hand, it's like, don't try to demasculate our position, you know?
Yeah.
And I think there's a little bit of jealousy with certain groups against other groups because of athletic performance, for one. Trying to get to be equal, it gets extra deep. You know,
if you don't understand, you're just not gonna get it.
Yeah.
Probably not in this podcast, but we definitely gonna have a part 2. We're gonna talk more about that.
Yeah,
sure.
You bring like a panel of people in.
Yeah,
but it's an undergirding thing that affects a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
But damn, I forgot what we was talking about. I got lost.
We were talking about relationships.
Man, we was talking about
relationships. Get some advice.
I was trying to get some advice, but let's say for women, how would you say a woman to pick up a dude? Because it's some women that's not scared to talk to a dude. Like, what would you say? Same thing, confidence. Gotta just come at them, make them laugh. You know, show initiative. How would you give that woman advice to pick up that dude?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not a woman, but I've had women come talk to me and stuff, but it always seems like the woman I was always more attracted to was the one I went to.
Yeah.
I say that with a grain of salt because there's some fine women, you know, they want to talk to you or something like that.
Yeah.
But right now I really don't even worry about it because, you know, I got my queen. But you could tell when a woman's vibing with you, they're not afraid to come talk to you, and I don't think it's anything bad. I don't look down on a woman if she wants to come and, you know, holler at you and she wants to speak and say your name. It's probably the same way that women want you to approach. Hello, what's your name? This and that, you know?
Yeah.
In a respectful way. See if you vibe and connect and talk. Sometimes you hit it off, sometimes you don't. As long as you do that like a human being, I think that would be perfect for a female. Don't try to come at us and assume like you know what we're all about. People look at me and my lowriders and cruising and stuff, and you never think I'm about to get my doctorate degree. You know, so it's stuff like that. You can't. Don't look at us like you think you know everything about us, you know?
Yeah.
You might have just been working in the yard all day. You're just dirty and tired and hot and grass in your hair. But you got $1 million home. You just stopped at the store to get a Gatorade or something, you know?
Yeah. They
They
just judge a book by a cover.
Yeah, I think that's something all of us can do.
Yeah, it's kind of hard nowadays. Well, I would even say nowadays, as long as I've been on this earth and other people before me always confided me about how people perceive them what actually not knowing who they are as a person, which I can totally understand. The government and other higher powers definitely have a grasp on that situation. Just being human beings, we also just perceive people to be bad. Don't matter how good they look or not look, they just bad until they show you otherwise. Mm-hmm. I feel like, that's my personal opinion about that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we're going to talk about, I had it at the tip of my tongue. What the hell we was going to talk about? We was going to talk about,
cars? Can you talk about cars?
We can talk about cars? My car fucked up, but we can talk about cars.
Nah, it's all good. I mean, it don't matter. It's one of my hobbies, doing. I love cars.
We share a little bit about it. My boy got the low riders. He was going to car events and shit like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, how's that going?
Man, low riding. My 77 Monte Carlo, and I got 67 Impala convertible. MC's, chromed out undercarriage and got the chrome hydraulics and chrome out motor and, hit switches on that on the weekends and convertible drop top. Man, I love it. It just rolling and, throw up a peace sign, put on my music and just dipping. And I'm all over DFW, just dipping through the streets and love it. And it's a hobby. And honestly, low riding kept me out of a lot of trouble. When I dropped out of school the first time, it's like a goal I had. And, as I kept moving up and working and, my family growing, I had to keep feeding my family. So I wanted to keep low riding too, And I needed to make more money. So I was like, maybe I better go to school and learn something so I could get a better job to buy car parts. But I better feed my family first. I put my cars up for a while. Family is always first no matter what. But there's something about the cruising and stuff that the cars are a lot more than just cars. So I think a lot of people within the lowrider community can attest to the same thing. It's kind of a goal that you have. And ever since then, I've been trying like, well, I want to try to get another goal. I'm going to teach in college. I'm a professor in college as well. Little side money hustle. I got to take care of my family. I get some more car parts. Next thing I know, might as well get a doctorate. You're full time. Next thing you know, is, when you kind of look at it, kind of chuckle a little bit, like, is the common denominator low riding? Lifting weights and low riding, because that seems what I want to be doing. But obviously, my family first, and it's just a fun hobby. I think everybody should have some type of hobby, whether you cook, whether you paint, draw.
Yeah, you cook too, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Up in the kitchen.
Yeah. Well, that's the Italian side of me. That just came natural.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like lifting weights.
You be just eating pasta.
Yeah.
It'd be other stuff though.
I grew up eating pasta and tacos at the same time on the table. It doesn't make any sense, but cooking is fun. Cooking is good.
Cooking is fun.
Cooking is a good way to recognize people.
What you mean? If they can't cook, you can't mess with them?
That would be one. Yeah, that'd be a big red flag. But no, you learn about other people's culture through their food.
Oh yeah.
You learn a lot of stuff about where it comes from, how people eat, the geography where they're at. So like my wife, she's from Liberia and she's African American, and so we also have a lot of West African soups that we cook and eat, and a lot of it
with the fufu.
Fufu sometimes, but more like the soups. I like eggplant stew and stuff like that, and jollof rice and all those kind of things like that, and you just kind of realize in the area that came from. Then you learn about the culture of Liberia, that it was tried to be established by former slaves from the United States and them over there. And there was already people over there in Liberia. Next thing you know, that's where they get the foundation that they had a civil war there, and how different African from African Americans, and Mexican American culture, and I got my Italian American culture. That's all infused into my kids, so they're super confused too, like me. But it's very beautiful, and you look at the food, you can see the sources of food, and you look at like soul food and how that derived a lot from Africa. You look at the music, how all the stuff from Africa, even within in my cultures and stuff that I grew up, how a lot of stuff all derived from Africa. And
it's pretty connected.
Yeah, it's connected as human beings, but a lot of stuff, and you can also tell there's a lot of history that hasn't been told. A lot of it comes from Africa, which is really interesting. So,
and before we wrap it up, I got one more question. So, damn, I just keep forgetting the damn question.
Well, I just drink a lot of water. Okay, it's silky smooth. I know you're talking about my skin, right?
You know Fernanda had a baby?
No, I didn't know that.
That's crazy. Yeah, she got a baby.
Well,
I know this is off topic, but yeah, she got a baby. That's pretty cool. I'm kind of excited. I ain't seen it yet, but I'm kind of excited to see
I'm
it.
sure the baby's cute.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, I don't know. All babies to me ugly when they first come out, but I'm pretty sure over time it's gonna get cuter.
Initially, when they come out, they look like little prunes.
Yeah.
But then they straighten out. They're cute after once you wash them up. They good.
Yeah. Yeah, you want to shout out like your Instagram or anything that you want to let people know you got going on?
Movement Specialist 77, Coach G _money. That's my lowrider page, family. I'm in the DFW area. I do contract out my strength conditioning services, but you got to hit me up quick because when I make a commitment, I'll stick with that. There's only so many weeks in the summer. Also, I'd like shout out to my JJLP nonprofit basketball group. We work out of Eastern Hills, so my East Side family. I am Coach G from the East Side, Fort Worth, Texas, recognized.
Funky Town.
No doubt. And so we do our thing at Eastern Hills. My partner that started it, he's the 3-time All-American, and I can put that flyer out there. We do our basketball thing, helping the kids. We have barbecue, we have ice cream, we have DJ, we have skills events. So the next one coming up is October 1st, and we're just growing our nonprofit. There's a lot of stuff going on at TCC. I teach there. I also now teach at Tarleton State, so if you're at Tarleton State, please try to take one of my classes if you're a collegiate student. And I'll do consultations for strength programming if you need that too. I'll go to your sports facility and help you with the arrangement and the logistics of setting up your fitness center the correct way. I do that consultation as well because that makes a big deal as far as good lifts and, you know, traffic control and stuff like that within the weight room. Safety reasons too. So, yeah, man, that's it. I appreciate you getting me on here, Jordan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I always like to learn new things, old things. Always a pleasure. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and yeah, I gotta go. Bye.